And so if you jump onto our board website, you're going to be able to scroll down right on the very front page here. You'll see, some of the basic facts about our board. But if you scroll right down to the bottom, it's not very far, you'll see some educational resources for parents. If you click there, and again scroll down just a little bit here to near the bottom. And by the way, there's a whole bunch of resources if you haven't checked this out. So that's not our topic for today, but lots of resources there. And in addition, at the bottom here are a bunch of read and write videos that you can view. The advantage of these videos is they're very short. They only are typically about 2 minutes, maybe 3-4 minutes at the most.
Hi there.
So
today we're going to see how read and write can help when you're using Google Docs or just browsing the internet.
So as you can see, this one here is only 2 minutes.
Let's start by seeing what we can do in Google Docs. Here's the purple read and write icon at the top of your screen. Click.
Okay, so I didn't want to show the whole thing. I'm just giving you an idea of where you would go on our board website to find them. And know that there's probably about 15 of those or more. And each one of them is very short, which makes it a lot easier to get through than having to watch a 10 or 20-minute video. They're each about 2-3 minutes. So how did we get here? One of the reasons we have accessible technology at all is because many, many years ago we realized that many students have difficulty with reading and writing, yet they have a lot of great knowledge to share with their teachers. They just have difficulty with the reading portion or perhaps the writing portion, and perhaps even both. And so we've known that for a long time. So one of the ideas was to come up with some assistive technology that would allow them to have access to writing skills and to supports for reading so they could demonstrate their knowledge a little bit better than they had in the past. So basically, that's why all this technology has come about. That's why Read and Write is a piece of technology that we're now using at our board. It's to allow students who struggle a bit with their reading and with their writing to demonstrate what they know a little bit better. One of the questions I often get is about the curriculum. It doesn't replace teaching of the curriculum at all. In fact, students in grades 1, 2, and 3, we often encourage that students do not use the technology yet. We do make exceptions, certainly in some cases. But what we want to see is we want to see classroom teachers working with students on their reading and their writing to improve it. Because that's something that they're always going to need, and it's something that we always want them to work on. So the Read and Write is designed to allow them to do those things a little bit better, but it does not replace the classroom teaching of it. One of the other things with assistive technology, although it has improved dramatically in the last 20 years, it's still something that you have to create a habit for. It has to become a habit forming for kids. So think of it a little bit about like riding a bike. It takes a little bit of time for anyone to learn how to ride a bike, but once you're comfortable with it, it becomes second nature and you can do it very easily. That is also true for assistive technology. Like I said, the technology itself isn't all that difficult, but until you make it a routine, until students are using it every day and making it part of what they do, then they won't use it as effectively. So what does it support, Read and Write? We use it a lot in Google Docs. Many of your kids are using Google Docs to complete their assignments, so there's lots of accessibility tools available in Google Docs. And the advantage of Read and Write is that it's incorporated right into the doc. And what I mean by that is a lot of assistive technology in the past, you literally had to go to another platform to get the technology. With Read and Write, the technology is built directly into the Google Doc. So the student doesn't have to go to any other place. He or she's right in their doc, and they're using the accessible tools. It's also available on the web, so there are certain features that we'll show you on the web, time permitting. And it also works on PDFs, which can be difficult at times because PDFs are kind of designed not to be played with. But Read and Write has figured out a way that we can to make them a little bit more accessible. And also Emily's definitely going to show you a little bit about how it's used in the Google Classroom as well. And certainly that's very important in the world we're living in right now. So just a couple of things that students need to be aware of. First thing you're going to want to see is this puzzle piece. And every student in our board has it. We call it an extension. Read and Write is an extension, not an app. And every student has been pushed out automatically by our tech department. And they should definitely be seeing this purple puzzle piece. If they don't, then they may have a problem. So one of the reasons that they might have a problem is because they're not in the Chrome browser. So it is very important that students use a Chrome browser, not Safari or Internet Explorer or any other browser. It will only work in Chrome. And secondly, they have to make sure they sign into Chrome using their My Tools to Go account. Because if they sign in using someone else's account, like a family account or a private account, you won't get access to the tools because the tools are directly tied to the student's school account. So that's very important. So again, if you can see on your screen here, this little purple puzzle piece they should be seeing in a Google Doc. And this little puzzle piece here, now mind you, I have quite a few extensions here, but this little puzzle piece here is something they should be seeing on the internet when they're browsing. So those are two very important things, because I sometimes get messages from folks saying that students do not have Read and Write, when in fact they do. It's just that perhaps they haven't signed in properly. Okay, so at this point we're going to go live. Instead of me just talking about it, we're going to show you how it's used by a live person. In this case, I think we're going to start with Emily. I think you're going to take over, Emily, and we're going to take a look at it in the doc at this point.
Yes, so thanks, Ken. I'm going to start by showing you, like Ken said. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep, we see it.
Okay, great. So this is a mock Google Classroom we've created. Here in the 9 dots, you'll see the Google Docs that the students are able to work in. So I'm just going to quickly open up a Google Doc just to show you. I know many students are asked to create Google Docs. Therefore, I wanted to begin there for you. As Ken mentioned, Read and Write will appear as an extension. So here I have Read and Write for Google Chrome. I'm on a student My Tools to Go account. So I wanted to mirror for you what you would see. So on Google Doc, one of the best things I always say about on Read and Write is that once a child starts talking, talk and type is what they would select. And just before I begin, I want to show you that I'm going to go quickly here, but it will, if you hover your mouse, you'll get to see what every icon here means. And as Ken indicated, there are links to give you more information about each one of these icons. We'll do a couple for you tonight just to help you familiarize yourself with it. So with talk and type, it starts recording exactly what I'm saying as soon as I start talking. Now, if you're in a home and there's a lot of sound, it's always better to go to maybe a quieter spot so that the student can record what they're saying without the background noise being picked up. To stop the recording, I would simply click this microphone here and it stops. I'm now going to go into Google Classroom. I'm sure this is something you're familiar with, your children's Google Classrooms account. And I just want to show you how Read and Write works inside the Google Classroom. So I'm going to pick an assignment, Mouse's Spring Day. If you're with me for session 2, it's the same assignment. But I wanted to show you, again, you have to click Read and Write every time you open up a new tab in Google Chrome. It will not carry over. So you want to make sure that you click the puzzle piece again. And this time we're going to talk a little bit about how Read and Write will read to me the directions on the screen. So if you have a primary student, a beginner reader, and you're finding you're doing a lot of the reading to them, this is a great opportunity and a great tool in which they, Google Read and Write will read for them. So if I began with hover speech, and I hover my mouse right here.
Hello, friends. This week in literacy, we are going to focus on the sequence of first, then, next, last.
And she would continue until I asked her to stop. I could also pause her. I wanted to show you here also, the 3 dots in Google always means something more. You would go to options. And if I wanted to slow down the speed of her voice, I can decrease it all the way towards 0. If I wanted a male to speak instead, I'd go down, there's many options here, to US English. You'll notice there's other languages present. It will not translate to that language, but I will show you right now how to translate to one word. But I also want to take off continuous reading, and I'll show you why. So, for example, if I'm a beginner reader and I want to try it on my own, but I'm having trouble with, let's say, the word sequence. Well, I can highlight the word sequence, and then I can hit play.
Sequence.
And then it would only read that word for me rather than continuing on the whole sentence like was shown in hover speech. Now, if I want to translate the word, I'm going to use the word mouse for the next couple of examples, and I want to translate the word mouse into Spanish. So this button right here is a translator, and here are translations present. If I want to change the language that it's being translated to, again, I would go to options at the 3 dots, and I would change the translation here. Another, I don't know why, but this is my favorite feature of all. No, I shouldn't say my favorite. I just think it's really cool. So here are the picture dictionary and the dictionary. So if I'm not sure what the word mouse means, I click dictionary, and different meanings of the word will come up, both the fur-covered animal and a device that you use on your computer. If I'd like to see a picture of it, again, I re-highlight the word. And I go to picture dictionary. And now I have both examples here. And if I'm still not satisfied and I want to see what it looks like on the sorry, sometimes it needs to be refreshed here. I found that a couple times today, so we'll just quickly jump back in. It's always good to see what troubleshooting looks like. So again, I would highlight the word mouse. And then if I click on the magnifying glass with the globe, it will now do a Google search of that word, and different pictures of mice will appear. Next, I'm going to show you quickly the highlight feature. So here we have different colors of highlighter. I'm going to choose everything that reminds me of a computer on this page. So I'm going to choose the word mouse because the mouse is used on a computer in yellow. And then I'm going to choose in blue. I'm going to pick the word computer. So now I have these words highlighted. An interesting thing that Google Read and Write will do, if I were to click vocabulary, it's generating a Google document with both the definition and the picture of a mouse and a computer. And thankfully, it's going to appear. So the vocabulary list stays here. So say, for example, those were words I struggled with when I read it the first time. I could go back to my vocabulary list and say, oh, right, that's the computer, so that word is computer. So just an example for you there, and that's located under vocabulary. If I want to get rid of the highlight, again, you can use highlighting for any purpose. You know, for example, if your child was practicing reading and they wanted to show you where they were having difficulty, a good solution would be to highlight it. This eraser brush, once I select all the text, will delete that. The last thing I want to show you on this page before I jump in a doc, this is called Screen Mask. And what it does is it only highlights a portion of the text. So if you would like your child to only focus on a certain sentence to begin reading, because this can be overwhelming with a lot of text on the page, and certainly in Google Classroom there's a lot of information, the Screen Mask can certainly help there. So I'm going to jump into a document just to quickly show you that very similar to Google Docs, that Google Read and Write would work right within the assignment your teacher has given your child. So again, I would need to click on a puzzle piece. I would go to voice typing. The first thing to happen in the story was the mouse goes into the garden. And if I wanted to, when I'm completed the document, then I would click here to share it with my teacher. And I think that's all I'm going to present, unless Ken, you wanted me to touch on anything else?
No, that's good. I can maybe just show quickly how much time we got here. Steve, I think we got a couple of minutes, yes?
Yeah, we can go a little bit over, Ken, if necessary. We'll have some time for questions at the end.
Yeah, so I'll just show real quick. I'll just show my screen once again. I'll be very quick with this. So one of the things you're able to do as well that's kind of neat, something that's kind of new, is this is a form here. And there's lots of online forms these days. So one of the things Google or Read and Write will do is it makes the forms accessible now. So just so you know that that's available and has some of the same features that are available in a Google Doc are now also available on a form like this. So I could literally voice text an address into here. I did it already, but I'll do it again. 1500 Northwood Street. So that's very cool. It will you can fill out a form. I don't know about you guys, but that's not one of my favorite things to do are forms. So that makes it a lot easier to fill these out as well if you're someone who struggles with some writing. Also, one of the things that is very challenging is a PDF. A PDF is designed not to be messed with. Like, so for example, if I click on here, I can't change anything here. I'm clicking and I can't change anything on a PDF. But what Read and Write has done, it has created some technology that allows you to at least use some features that are typical in Read and Write that allow you to now create answers within this form. So in this question here, how do the details in paragraph 5 show Marilyn's character? Well, you can use this typewriter tool here and start typing like you would in a Google Doc. And you can shrink the font because it's kind of large here. So you would be able to type anything you wanted in here and be able to provide an answer to your teacher. Because certainly in the format that we're in right now, some of the materials that kids are getting are going to be in a PDF and are not going to be in a Google Doc. So just know that Read and Write will also provide some features in a Google Doc and a PDF as well. Now, if you notice in here, I'll just point out, once you click on the T, it gives you your options down here. So it looks a little bit different. And one of the options is voice to text. So, and that's also new because it wasn't too long ago you could not use voice to text in a PDF, but now you can. Okay. And I think that's about it. I think those are the main features so far that we wanted to present. There's quite a few different features, so there might be some questions.
So thanks very much to Ken and Emily for a really thorough presentation. And like I said before at the outset of the session, if you do have any questions, I'd ask that you just use the chat box, and that's the dialog box that you'll see up in the top right corner of your screen. Just type your questions in there, and I'm sure that these nice folks will be happy to answer them for you. I don't know if you saw that question or not, but somebody asked if they can show one more time how to initiate that in a PDF, Ken? Can you go through that process one more time?
Yep, I can go back. Yep, I still have the PDF up, so I will pull it down here. Okay, so this PDF here was actually an assessment from EQAO from a number of years ago. And like I said, it's not accessible. I still have the T up here, so I'll take that off. It's not something that's accessible. So the tools that you have here, the way you would access these tools is by clicking the puzzle piece, just like you would in a doc or even on the web. So you'd be clicking the puzzle piece, and that would make this menu drop down. So when the menu drops down, you have the option to play. So you could, actually I'll use the click to speak because it's a little easier. So click to speak, you place it where you'd want the cursor.
It was just after 11 p.m.
And it would read it. And as you can see, it actually reads quite well, even though it's a PDF. It will read it quite well. When you're going to type something in, I'll go down to where there's a space to do that. You'd want to stop your click to speak. You'd want to then access the T for typewriter. So that's how you access it. You click where you want to do it, and then you'll have these options available. And one, of course, is to type. Another one is to use the voice to text. So I will use that. The details in paragraph 5 show Maryland to have great character. And that's a very large font. So I will shrink the font, and I'll stretch that out. And as you can see, it typed exactly what, well, actually, here's a very good example. So it thought I said Maryland, even though I was talking about Maryland, the name. So you can easily edit that yourself after the fact. And that's going to happen from time to time, right? You're going to have to make some edits and change things depending on how it heard you, or depending on how you pronounced it, really.
Okay, thanks, Ken. We also had a question from somebody named Rachel Lazipov. It says, does it do automatically translation of voice to text, or do they need to go through 2 steps?
So I think potentially, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're asking if you're speaking into the computer in a different language, Google Read and Write has access to over 100 languages. So where I showed you those 3 dots to the More option, you would go to Language, and you can choose the language that can be picked up. But it will not automatically translate it into English. It would only pick up the language you're speaking into the computer.
Right. So it can only translate one word. It's not like Google Translate or some other translating tools out there that will attempt to translate an entire passage or an entire document. It does not do that, no.
Does that answer your question? So still 2 steps.
Yeah, so if you're needing to translate it into English, you would have to do 2 steps, if that's the steps you're referring to, yes.
Okay, any more questions? Doesn't look like we have any more coming up. Okay, well, you're welcome. Again, once again, thanks very much to our 2 facilitators, Emily Lamarzi and Ken McCarthy, for doing a really great, thorough presentation tonight. I hope that you got a lot out of it, that you got some useful information that you'd be able to take back and help your kids when they're actually doing their online learning. As I said at the outset, we don't currently have any more parent support sessions scheduled. However, if there are certain things that you feel that you need some support on, if you have certain topics that you feel that you'd like to see covered, that perhaps some of these people might be able to put something together on, we'd certainly consider that. What I'd ask you to do is just make sure that you use the parent support email address that we use to register, and just send an email there. And if there's anything that comes up, or you can even use that, I monitor that email address regularly. So if there's any questions that you have, specific questions that you need some help on or anything like that, feel free to use that email address, send something along, and we'll check in on it a couple times a day, and we'll try to get you the help that you need. And there was another question that I saw there that came up. Need to know whether previous recordings are on the portal. They are not currently on the portal, but that's a good idea. We can probably put them there. They are currently on the board's YouTube channel. So if you just go to YouTube and search WECDSB, the other sessions, the first two sessions, you can find them there. And this one, as soon as it's done, we get the recording, we'll upload this one to YouTube as well. There was another question, can we save the read aloud as an audio file? Is that the question?
You can save audio files. There is an option to do that in Google Docs. There's also a way that you can save a passage that you're reading that a teacher gave you, so that a teacher would be able to listen to the passage that your son or daughter had just read, just to give them an idea of their fluency. Both of those are options available that we didn't actually go over because that's going to in quite a bit of detail today. But those are things that can be done, yes.
I'll quickly, I'm here right now, so if I have my screen shared, if I go to practice read aloud, that option will come up and it gives you the steps here. Ready to practice reading, click record, stop, and send the button to share it with your teacher.
So you would just need to know your teacher's email address, and it would send a recording of that passage that they read directly to the teacher. The teacher would want to supply the passage to you, or you'd let them know which the passage is, and then the teacher would be able to hear them reading it.
And an easy way to find the teacher's email is on Google Classroom under the People tab. Any staff will be their emails will be present also by clicking on the dots, or it's an envelope, sorry.
Okay, and another question that just came up is the audio file, is it an MP3? And is there a way of saving the MP3?
Not sure what file it's saved as. I can try to quickly look it up.
Is there a way of saving an MP3 version of the reading is the question.
Oh, Ken, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was just looking. I believe it is an MP3 that the recording is.
Okay. There's another question here. Do we need to get the Read and Write app, or is it already a feature on Google Doc?
Yeah, so we have a board-wide license, so it's automatically pushed out to every single student. Just a reminder that they definitely have to sign into Chrome. First of all, they have to be in a Chrome browser, and they need to sign into Chrome using their board account, because it's tied to their board account. So if they don't do those two things, browse in Chrome and also sign into their board account, they wouldn't have access to the tools. So those are the two key features.
And as you mentioned, Ken, I believe the Read and Write extension is already enabled by our IT department on every student's account, correct?
Every student has access to it. The only glitch would be is if a student had accidentally not accepted the permissions and deleted the extension. That might be something that might have to be looked into after the fact. But no, every single student had it pushed out to them centrally by our tech department.
I saw a question about headphones. Absolutely, if you have a headset with a microphone, you're more than able to use it. I would, recommend it if you have it. If not, you can use it without it. It just helps to eliminate the noise. And when you're listening to something on headphones, it's a more direct account of what you're hearing.
Okay, any further questions? Doesn't look like any more are coming up. Yep, so like I said, again, use that parent support email address. If you've had any further questions, topics that you would like to have covered, please just let us know. And once again, thanks very much to Ken and Emily for putting together a great presentation tonight. Good night, everybody.